a king who could escape a serpent bite but later had to give up his life due to the same cause. A great farmer and a warrior later turned into the mightiest king. Ragnar Lothbrok, a clever man who lived during the medieval era, was happily married to Lagertha. They had a son named Bjorn and a daughter named Gyad. Once Ragnar traveled to Kattegat with his son Bjorn for Bjorn's right of manhood. Ragnar was convinced that the West Land holds riches, never explored, so he convinces his brother Rollo that raids to the west are worthwhile. Earl Haraldsson, the local chieftain, however, thinks it isn't a great idea and criticizes him. Earl later orders to raid the Baltic, a poor land. At this point, we can understand that Ragnar has great vision, good enough to take his people to great heights. Bjorn and Ragnar pay a visit to Floki, Ragnar's friend and talented shipwright, who has been secretly constructing a new type of ship for them. Ragnar then gathers an army of Vikings and leads them to England, where they sacked the monastery of Lindisfarne. They kill the majority of the monks and kidnap the rest to sell as slaves, including the young Athelstan. After their triumphant return to Kattegat, the Earl confiscates all of the looted goods except one piece per person. Picking Athelstan, the Christian prisoner Ragnar departs. Ragnar had gained much attention due to his courage and stern attitude. Ragnar isn't someone who gives up. He acquired important information on the Northumbrian kingdom. Meanwhile, another invasion of England was approved by Earl Haraldsson. Athelstan is left to take care of the farm and the kids as Ragnar, who is now accompanied by Lagertha and the Earl's brother Canute. When Canute tries to rape a Saxon villager during the attack, Lagertha murders Canute. However, Ragnar admits to the murder and covers for her. Earl was happy about the raid but felt uneasy about Canute's demise. A trial that followed the triumph and murder didn't go well for him. Following the raiding party's destruction of Ragnar's farm, which left Ragnar with terrible injuries, they fled to Floki's home. She betrays his intentions because the Earl married his only daughter, Thiri, to a wealthy, fat Swedish nobleman as a safe match without consulting his wife Siggy. Rollo, who is already in a relationship with Siggy, is apprehended and tortured for refusing to reveal Ragnar's whereabouts. After learning that Rollo was tortured at Earl's command, Ragnar, who was still hurt and frail, confronted Haraldsson. Rage drives Ragnar at this point, and he ultimately kills Earl. Things took a sharp turn from here on. Ragnar then moves to England, where King Eäl's royal residence is, in 3 Viking ships. Back in Scandinavia, Lagertha assumes leadership in Ragnar's place, accepts Siggy's offer of assistance, and miscarries the child. Ragnar takes his family and followers to the temple in Uppsala to attend a great rite because Lagertha is unable to conceive another son. He swears loyalty to King Horik, who appoints Ragnar to send an embassy to Jarl Borg, a rival who is violating Horik's lands. Ragnar gathers a small party to travel to Gotaland to settle a land dispute with Jarl Borg. The battle between Ragnar and King Horik's forces and Jarl Borg begins. Rollo joins Borg in this Viking battle. Princess Aslog arrives in Kattegat, bringing with her a surprise that puts Ragnar in a difficult situation. Ragnar falls in love with Aslog, which angers his son. Ragnar has been Earl for 4 years. They decided to raid England. A storm forces the Viking fleet to reroute, and Ragnar and his men may have met their match on the beaches of Wessex. The Wessex Viking raid is in full swing, and King Ecbert is confronted with an entirely new type of foe. While Ragnar battles for supremacy in the west, Jarl Borg is the ruler of Kattegat. In Ragnar's absence, Rollo stepped in as the leader his people required. Lagertha and Ragnar banded together to reclaim Kattegat from Jarl Borg. Athelstan is unsure how to define his faith. King Horik returns to Kattegat with an unexpected proposal for Ragnar. Ragnar's call for an ally is answered by a mysterious earl who turns out to be Lagertha. Ragnar and King Horik disagree on how to deal with Jarl Borg's justice. Ecbert seeks a new alliance with King Eäl, arrives in Wessex. As she prepares to give birth, Princess Aslog's prophecy comes true. When Ragnar, Horik, and Lagertha arrive in Wessex, Ragnar informs them that they will negotiate with Ecbert rather than fight. But Horik and Lagertha disagree. Ragnar and King Horik return to Kattegat, and Ragnar confides in those who have supported him. Ragnar then goes to Wessex to claim the land promised to him by King Ecbert. When they arrive, the cunning king informs Ragnar that he and his men must fight Mercian soldiers on behalf of Princess Quenthurth if they wish to keep their land. Floki wonders why Ragnar would want his men to fight and die for Christians. Athelstan reaffirms his Christian faith, and Floki's hatred for Christianity compels him to kill him. In the Nordic countries, Kalf has usurped Lagertha's earldom in Hedeby, and Siggy has drowned, leaving Rollo heartbroken, while Orin gives birth to her and Bjorn's child, whom she names Siggy after. Ragnar leads an unsuccessful raid on Paris, leaving the Viking king gravely wounded. When the Franks try to bargain with Ragnar by offering him gold and silver, he refuses, believing he is dying. Emperor Charles, who dispatches Count Odo, learns that Ragnar is dying and wishes to be buried as a Christian. Ragnar's conversion to Christianity irritates his warriors, who all agree that he cannot continue as king now that he has rejected their gods, but they are merely biding their time. Ragnar wanders in a fever dream caused by his illness as Aslog hears another prophecy from the seer. As he approaches Odin's Valhalla, the gate slams shut in his face, and the massive golden doors vanish into thin air. Prophecies have always had a great influence on Ragnar, and it has given him the signs the universe wanted to convey. Bjorn arrests Floki for Athelstan's murder. Rollo betrays his Viking supporters to strengthen his position. Kalf declares joint earldom with Lagertha. Ragnar and Floki are still at odds. Ragnar informs Floki of the high cost of his actions. Rollo finds an unlikely ally in Count Odo. Bjorn faces a formidable foe in the wilderness. A Norwegian king and Bjorn, who will be accompanied by a new partner, are then welcomed to Kattegat's Great Hall. King Aiel ended up in Wessex for Christmas and will be dissatisfied with the evolution of family relations. Ragnar reveals his plan to raid Paris again at the Thing in Kattegat, and despite the fleet's stormy departure, the challenge awaits in France where Rollo awaits. Ecbert sends Athelwulf and Alfred to Rome on a pilgrimage. In England, King Ecbert plots to secure the crown of Mercia, while a large force of Vikings attacks Rollo's defenses outside Paris. Ragnar's leadership was called into question following their defeat, evacuation, and retreat downriver. Rollo and Gisela had information that will help Rollo's position at the French court, while Count Odo will be slow to identify his true adversaries, which could have serious consequences. As they approach Paris, the Vikings relaunch their ships, but this time they have interesting structures made by Floki. In Wessex, relations between King Ecbert and an unhappy King Aiel are tested. Ragnar and Rollo face off in a fierce battle between the Vikings and the French, and the outcome seals the fates of the two brothers. Ragnar unexpectedly returns home to see what has become of his sons and to complete unfinished business with King Ecbert. Lagertha plots a power play, and Bjorn prepares to explore the Mediterranean in a sleek new boat built by Floki for him. Ragnar can bribe a few old warriors to accompany him, but when their ships are caught in rough seas, the majority of them are killed. Once under Ecbert's control, Ragnar obtains a promise that Ivar will be given safe passage home in exchange for Lothbrok's surrender to his rival. Ecbert knows he must have him killed, but Ecbert arranges for him to be handed over to King Aiel for execution so that the blame will fall on Northumbria rather than Wessex. Aiel brutally tortures and mocks the Viking before dropping him into a pit of snakes to die, with Ecbert acting as a disguised witness to his fate. Lagertha and her lover Astrid relocate to Kattegat, taking Ubi and Sigurd with them. When Ivar returns safely to a transformed Kattegat, he and Ubi both try to kill Lagertha, but an also returned Bjorn intervenes and tells them they must go through him. All of Lothbrok's brothers band together with a plan to lead a Viking army against Wessex in retaliation for their father's death. Ragnar, the great warrior, has always faced challenges without batting an eye, and that's what helped him to lead his people and the ones who depended on him to triumph. Do let us know your thoughts on today's video. See you all in the next one.